So I was like, who do I tell of this? Who would listen? Who would care? I say everyone should. I went to see my gynecologist, and we were talking about differences, and that Norway, if someone's suffering or going to suffer a terrible illness like Alzheimer's, that, they pull the plug. The person, he gets euthanasia. I think a person has a right to decide this, unless they're like mentally ill, and then you give it a year or two and see what happens. But I saw so much working at a nursing home, and they would actually put food and water into a 65-pound patient that was contracted. Their limbs were contracted, and the patient would be thirsty all day. We'd go in there to change her Depends, and she did big poops. And she'd be smacking her lips because she's miserable. And there's just no getting better. I mean, there's no medicine that's going to stop death completely. But they are feeding her food through her stomach. She can't even taste food. I've had a quadriplegic young man. He was okay. He ate. He could eat. He couldn't feel his legs. He couldn't see his pressure sores. They're 1 inch deep and could get septic. And they tried to keep him patched up. But, he watched TV and had people come in and see him. But there's a difference. And then there was a man, he was very combative, senile. They had a ostomy bag, and they were feeding him through his stomach. But he got really mad, and he tore it off, and there's poop all over the room and the bed and on his hands and face. Because he was mad. He's like, I don't want to be here in bed for the rest of my life. How long are you going to keep this going? The misery and the torture. All throughout my life, I've had pets that I thought were suffering and were not going to get any better. There's no chance of them getting better. That I had them, in the most kind manner put to sleep, with a doctor, and so they didn't have pain. Even my dog Charm, the doctor came in to talk to me when I had decided after 2 days that she was probably not going to get better, and I didn't want her to suffer. And he came in and he explained, well, he said the only thing she'll feel in her veins is a little bit of coldness of the stuff going in. And she did. She died real quietly. She died. I was standing right there and was holding her. Just quietly closed her eyes and put her head down. We got to think about this, people. And then how much money do the nursing homes make from keeping people alive for profit? I mean, I would hate to think that they're that evil, but they might be, keeping all their beds filled. And they say there's not enough nurses' aid. Well, there's plenty of nurses' aid. There's just way too many patients that should and probably would rather have passed on instead of staying in day in, day out, suffering. So we don't even have that ability. If I was getting Alzheimer's, I couldn't say, hey, when I don't recognize my family, just go ahead and put me out. We don't have that ability to make that choice. And to me, that's the ultimate freedom. You say right to life. Well, you have a right to death, too. And I can tell you Thomas Jefferson would agree with that.